One of the first things that I learned from my grandfather is don't trust everybody because not everybody has your best intentions involved in what they're doing. Most people have their own personal self-interest involved. And if you happen to be going along with the ride and you get somebody to where they need to be and you compliment their success, they'll be nice to you. If they fear you as a threat or somebody that's going to hold them back, they're going to damage or hurt your reputation or your work life. So I learned that, and it does sound a little bit paranoid, but in reality, if you sit back and think about it, especially if you spend any time in the workforce and you're any age above 22 or 23, you know that you've been led on or something's happened to you at the workplace. So being careful with who you trust and who you give your knowledge and support to is key in your success as an individual.
You're listening to Brainwork Framework, a business and marketing podcast, brought to you by focus-biz.com.
Welcome back to another episode. With us today is Sean Kling. He's a CEO and author, entrepreneur, and travel vlogger. His companies, Araya, Kling Connection, and Outwork Them All. Today, we're going to be diving deeper into the topic of not everyone is in your corner, navigating trust in leadership. So excited to have him on today. Sean, how you doing?
Hey, thanks for having me today. It's an honor to be here.
Oh, thank you so much. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on. Sean, tell us more about your journey. What the heck were you doing before that kind of led you into this path and journey you're on today?
You name it, I've done it. I'm a man of many hats and have done a lot of things in my life. I will say this, when I was in high school, I attended vocational school and learned a trade and was very blue collar. Learned how to weld, do machine shop, and did that for a while, but went into the Army after high school. And that really opened up my eyes to the world. I grew up in a small town in Pennsylvania, which we only had 300 kids graduate from my high school, very small class, and predominantly, a white area. That's where I grew up in. So I didn't really have a lot of cultural diversity where I grew up. And the Army really opened up my eyes. I mean, when you're sitting in a barracks and you're sitting next to a guy from Los Angeles and a guy from rural Texas and a guy from Hawaii, you tend to learn a lot about people and how to handle and deal with people. So did my time in the Army, got out and went back into the trades and really did enjoy the trades, really liked the trades, learned a lot, spent a lot of time with my father and his friends, and even my grandfather worked with me until he passed away, and just learned a lot from older generation. Just a lot of business sense, a lot of common sense, not so politically correct stuff, that type of thing. And then when I got out of the trades, my back and my ankle were killing me just walking on concrete floors all day, climbing scaffoldings, things like that. So I got out of the trades and I started going into business for myself as an entrepreneur. And I made a lot of mistakes along the way. I've owned a lot of companies. I've owned a construction company. I owned a safety consulting company. I owned a CPR company. And now I do insurance adjusting as well as write books and do coaching and work in media. So a little bit about me. I mean, that's the 3,000-mile view up in the sky, but that's my history and where I've come from and what I've done and where I've been.
That is a lot of cool experience and background. And I agree that, many of our past generations have so much to teach us. And I think it's up to us to ask them and be willing to listen, because it's not just taking in the info, but kind of taking action from it and using that like a compass in life. And that can help out so many other generations. Trust is a huge factor. It's difficult, right? Both in like personal relationships, business relationships. Life is built on trust. And if we don't have that, we have a skewed perspective of the world. What is your take on, trust in business and leadership? What can we use from that?
Well, I'll tell you what, one of the first things that I learned from my grandfather is don't trust everybody because not everybody has your best intentions involved in what they're doing. Most people have their own personal self-interest involved. And if you happen to be going along with the ride and you get somebody to where they need to be and you compliment their success, they'll be nice to you. If they fear you as a threat or somebody that's going to hold them back, they're going to damage or hurt your reputation or your work life. So I learned that, and it does sound a little bit paranoid, but in reality, if you sit back and think about it, especially if you spend any time in the workforce and you're any age above 22 or 23, you know that you've been led on or something's happened to you at the workplace. So being careful of who you trust, be careful who you work with, and be careful who you share knowledge with, because some people will burn you. And sometimes you think It's the person, at least of your worries. Remember, work friends are what they are. They're work friends. They're not real friends. Sometimes you might wind up making a real friend, but most of the time work friends are work friends, and when you're not working there anymore, or they're not working there anymore, you don't hear from them anymore. They've moved on, or you've moved on. So being careful with who you trust and who you give your knowledge and support to is key in your success as an individual.
I agree, absolutely. And I've been burned quite a few times in the past, mostly because I kind of opened up too quickly or I felt too comfortable and I had trust with that person, let alone I came to realize later, okay, yeah, it actually came to bite me. It was used against me and wow, what a lesson learned. And that's just in entrepreneurship. I've even been on the receiving end within workplaces where, maybe a promotion or a raise or something better is promised, but it feels like you're chasing a carrot that you're never going to get. But yeah, that paranoia, I think, is totally justified. Once you have these experiences happen to you, you start to adjust and reflect on those and change your course going forward.
And just remember, there's always a little bit of truth in every joke.
Some people can't hear that, but they need to hear it. But it's
They
so
do.
true. It is
They
so
do.
true. And I think it's important that we can both laugh at ourselves a little bit, but kind of having that introspective self-thought, how do you manage that if people are joking about you, saying mean but true things? How do we use that positively?
Well, using it positively, you can always correct yourself, especially if you're young and you need to learn a little bit more skill or take a little bit more time to invest in yourself. If there's a joke about, hey, this guy doesn't know how to do something, well, there might be some truth in that. And you sometimes got to eat a little crow and say, hey, maybe I don't know how to do this too well. But some things you learn through experience, and other things you learn by repetition, other things you learn by just sheer luck. There's some things as people are just naturally good at, but you try to spin it into a positive to educate yourself. But remember that you can't always be talked down to either. So you got to stand up for yourself once in a while as well. But the positive part, definitely just take it in stride, learn from your mistakes, learn from what somebody's telling you, and you're going to be better off in the long run.
I agree, absolutely. And I want to ask more about some of your coaching styles and the people that you work with. Does it seem like you're helping certain entrepreneurs or people through certain stages in their life or their business? Are there any common traits that they all have together? Or you just kind of help a wide range of entrepreneurs?
I'm starting to find that a lot of the people that I'm working with recently have been people that are kind of lost with the economy the way it's been going, with business in certain genres not being really good right now, prices being skyrocketed. A lot of business owners don't know what to do and get to them that next step. They're in survival mode. Hey, how can I get this bill to pay this rent this month, or this paycheck to this person? And I'm getting a lot of those type of people that, need a fresh angle, fresh input, a fresh insight on what can make their business grow and what can make them stabilize through these difficult times that most businesses are facing right now.
And that's a big issue for a lot of us, just that it's a lack of clarity. I feel like we either have all the information or we always feel like we just need one more book, one more video, and that will provide the clarity that I need. But sometimes in reality, we just need a more experienced entrepreneur coming in to take a look at the situation and give us their thoughts and provide a little bit of direction.
Yeah, a fresh set of eyes never hurt. I mean, worst case scenario, they don't tell you the right thing, you just don't listen to them. But I've never been in a situation where I haven't been able to add some sort of benefit to somebody, even if it's something long term instead of an immediate fix. The problem is, by the time that most business owners get to a business coach or a consultant, they're at wit's end. They've exhausted their money. They've done everything that they can to try to build their business. They've stretched themselves too thin, and they're looking for that golden arrow that can fix everything. And they figure, I'll hire a consultant. He'll get in here for a week and the wheels will start turning. That's not the way that it works. Consultants, for the most part, or coaches, are there to listen to your problem and to tell you how to fix them. They're not going to be there to bring in millions of dollars worth of work or get you out of the slump. That's your job as a business owner. They're going to tell you and guide you some new aspects on how to do it, but don't think that they're going to be the person that comes in and gives you this magic bullet, so to say, and everything will turn around overnight.
I totally agree. But what have been some of the few success stories that you've had working with entrepreneurs from the small to the big? Because those successes can be compounding. One small change can really have like a larger effect on people.
Well, I was working with a company that sold peptides. They were drugs. And this guy, amazing business owner, just fell into some bad logistics, bad people to work with, people that were taking advantage of him. And they were charging him a lot of money for work to build his website, to get his marketing out there. And this guy was at wit's end and he was just like, I'm going to get out of the business. I don't know what to do. So a friend hooked me up with this gentleman. I won't say his name on the show, but he said, hey, look, this is where I'm at, man. I don't want to throw in the towel, but I'm getting pretty close to it, you know? So we talked a little bit and I said, okay, let's get the basics done. You can't build a house without a foundation. So the first thing we did was we got all his CRMs and his social media under control. That was the stuff that the other people handled. I said, okay, so now we can put this together and now you can start marketing and advertising. Do you want to do it organic or do you want to do it paid? Most people will think that you get better traction with paid advertising. I'm one to believe that you can get it more with organic because people tend to buy from a friend more than paid. And the only one that's getting rich off of paid advertising is Facebook or Google.
That's right.
So organic is key because you can have 1,000 people follow you. And this is what I told the guy. I said, you can have 1,000 people follow you, but if they're not buying from you, I'd rather have 100 people following me and 100 people buying a product from me versus 1,000 people that just lay eyes on me and maybe buy once if you're lucky. So we helped him out. Now he's currently digging himself out of a ditch a little bit, and I think he's going to do really well. But he was somebody that bought into the process, somebody that bought into, hey, this is something we need to do in order for me to extend and grow my business and get myself out of the hole. And sometimes it's just aligning yourself with the right people that care enough to get you where you got to go.
Absolutely. And I love the analogy and metaphor that you shared about building the foundation. Okay, we need to look at the systems and the processes because things aren't working here. And I love that you mentioned just controlling, your social media, having some sort of say over what you're doing. That way you can take action if the other team or the third party that you hire isn't pulling their weight or doing what you need it to do. So those turnarounds are so important. Just kind of getting clarity on, our exact situation. I've heard all these suggestions. What's the best direction? And it's a struggle for many people out there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough and not everybody is made to be an entrepreneur too. And I tell people that there's a lot of people that want to go into business. And if you're great at making horse saddles, you might not be great at running a business. You might be great at the craft. So some people want to go into business and they think, well, I can go into making these saddles for myself and for everybody else, and I can charge $1 million, but there's a lot more to business than just the artisan crafting, and you have to have the knowledge of tax background and advertising and dealing with orders and dealing with clients that are not happy or dealing with clients that are happy that refer you 5 or 6 of their friends, and next thing you know you're on back order. People get impatient, and these are all things that as a business owner you have to take into consideration. So sometimes it's you go in and you're speaking to these owners and realize you own this business, but you probably should have somebody else running it for you. And that's
And
a
I think
big
that
thing.
And I think that's okay, just understanding where our strengths lie, what hats we should be wearing. I can tell you the number of things that I've reluctantly done myself. I probably shouldn't have. The end result was not great. But it's like that balance between how much time do you have versus money you have. And we're trying to just make something happen. But have there been certain traits or qualities of successful entrepreneurs that you've noticed, like across the board, people who do X, Y, or Z tend to be successful?
Yeah, and I'm going to dispel the myth that's out there on the internet. There's this myth out there that you need to read 25 books a year and you need to get up 4 hours early every day and work 4 hours more and 4 hours late and stuff. And all this stuff that's out there that they say if you're not hustling the hustle culture, then you're not going to make it. I'm going to tell you this. Most people are born with some sort of skill. I'm going to say a skill. You have some people that are just natural salespeople. It's a skill that can't be taught. You can go to sales school all you want, but if you're not a natural salesperson, you're not going to be able to do it because you might be kind of socially awkward. The same with the business owner. There are some people that are just born leaders. There are some people that are just leaders that everything falls to them naturally, and you can't get jealous of them because that's their skill set. It's no different than a professional athlete that's born with that type of skill, or somebody that's born with artistic capability, or somebody that can write. There are people that just have that skill. And one of the things that I notice with most of the business owners that I meet is they're naturally leaders, but they just need a little guidance because they tend to get in their own head. As a leader, you don't have anybody to turn to, and you try to turn to other leaders, but it's not always the case. You want to keep things private. You want to make the world think that you're successful. So that's what I would say. Most of them are born with that instinct on how to be a leader. And it's okay. Not if you're not going to own a business, or you can't own a business, or something, there's nothing wrong with that. There has to be employees too. That's a myth that's out there. Don't go work for somebody else. You're making somebody else rich. Let me tell you something. There's a lot of rich people that work for other people too. So don't always believe that you always have to be an entrepreneur. Not everybody has it in them, and not everybody should be an entrepreneur.
Absolutely, I totally agree. And are any of those qualities or traits, being a great leader, can that be taught or learned? Could someone who's not that great become a better leader and still have success?
Yeah, I'll use West Point as an example. You get some 18-year-old kid out of high school, or the Navy Academy or whatever, and these young men, young women are going off to these military colleges, and a lot of them already are ahead, top of their class. Maybe they're really smart, did really well on their SATs, or had great marks, or good civic leader, or what have you. But they don't have the skill set yet to manage people or to manage situations. And you go off to these places like these military colleges, and they make leaders, they teach leaders, they teach them how to do things, and they teach them things out of their comfort zone, and that makes them embrace a wider range of civil, military, and personal skill to be a leader beyond their days in the military. And so that's a great example of a place that people can go to learn to be a leader. And I'm a firm believer that people should serve in the military. It teaches you a little bit of self-discipline as well.
Absolutely, a lot of great skills that can be taught and learned. I want to ask more about your ideal client in your coaching program. What are some of the best fit clients? What situation are they in currently? Where are they at, either revenue or business wise? The most impactful that you can be. Who have you been helping out the most?
I would say most of the clients I'm dealing with are people that employ anybody from about 10 to 15 people. They're just on the cusp of becoming a medium-sized company, but they're not quite there yet. They've been in business for a handful of years, not 1 year, but usually 4 or 5 years. And they're like, okay, they've made that 4 to 5 year leap where a business would potentially been out of business already, but they're ready to make that leap beyond starter business. And that's who I'm at. And dollars and cents really doesn't make a difference. You can be doing $20 million, or you could be doing $200,000 a year. There's a program for each of you, because not every business makes millions of dollars a year. So that's kind of where I'm at with my group of people that I do the coaching with. About 10 to 15 employees, been in business about 5 years or so.
Nice. And that's smart because I feel like you get a lot of the growing pains out of there after that 4 to 5 year mark. Like you said, you're almost kind of anticipating that next transition. What do the next 4 to 5 years look like? So are you able to get in where they have experience already, but they're not quite 100% on their clarity, what direction they want to go? Which is a great opportunity for you to come in and be able to assist and coach them along the way. Because there's blind spots that we have when we're just working things on ourselves. And like you said, getting that second set of eyes on something can be so helpful.
Yeah. Second set of eyes is key for any business owner. And there's multiple second set of eyes. You need to have your accountant look at your books. You need to have a lawyer that you can speak to about legal questions. I mean, I learned these things very hard way in my business. Not having a good accountant, not having a good lawyer at one point really hurt me at a lot of aspects. If you can align with those type of people, and a type of person that can keep your books for you, you're set. You're set. That's what do you say on G.I. Joe, knowing is half the battle? Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I always love that phrase. And I agree. Sometimes we definitely have to pay for a specialist to come in. Gosh, the time that I spent doing tax prep myself when I could have just passed it along for much less than I would charge hourly. It's a silly decision I mistakenly make each year, but it's so important.
Yeah, it's like that book, Who Not How.
Hmm.
I mean, I'm not a big book person. I think that I've written a book, don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of books out there that kind of just regurgitate the same information over and over again. They just word it differently. But the book Who Not How was really impactful in my life. When we're doing media stuff, I'm not out there running the camera. I've got a couple guys that graduated film school that are out there running the camera. I mean, could I do it? Sure, but it's not going to be the quality. I'm going to sit there and bring in the leads. I'm going to sit there and bring in the sales. I'm going to work with the clients. I'm not going to run the camera or do the editing and stuff. And it's all who, not how. Who, not how. If you can take one thing away from this episode, it should be who, not how, and align yourself with the right people, but don't trust everybody.
I like that. And I think this question kind of ties into the who, not how, because I want to ask what's been the most impactful thing that has been moving the needle for you in business and sales, like marketing? Because I feel like the who part of it is going to sneak in there, but there's many different ways that we can market ourselves and put ourselves out there. What's the most impactful?
For me, I have a great team around me. I can see, yeah, I'm the face of the company, but I'll be honest with you, I couldn't do it without my team. My team is the bee's knees. They're amazing people. But impactful wise, a lot of it is reputation. If you're a young man or woman out there starting a business and you're 22, 23 years old, and you feel that you're not making the money because you saw Mark Zuckerberg made Facebook when he was 23 and you should make that kind of money. Listen, time will work in your favor. People tend to take maturity a little bit more seriously. And I'm not saying at 22, 23, you're not mature. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is as you grow and you become more established in life and you experience more things in life, you'll have people that take people like me that's in my 40s more serious than somebody that's 19 starting a business. I'm sorry, 19-year-olds, I'm not knocking you. I'm just saying that they're going to take you a little bit more serious. So for me, it was a lot of networking. For me, it was a lot of my personal victories, but also my personal defeats that led me there. Sure, social media is a great tool. Sure, video media is a great tool. Sure, BNI and things like that are a great tool. But ultimately, at the end of the day, people are buying you and you need to be on the up in your game. And that's where I kind of rise to the occasion a lot of times is I want people to buy me. I'm not selling you anything, but I want them to buy me as Sean and be that person that they turn to if they have an issue.
That is a great twist on how we can kind of look at how we're presenting and selling ourselves and building those relationships. Sean, I want to ask, where can people find you and connect with you online?
Yeah, so you can find me at my website. It's Sean that's SeanKling.com. You can go there and it has links to all my separate pages, all my different businesses. You can find my book on Amazon. Just type in my name, Sean Kling, and there it is. It's on Amazon. If you want to read it, it's about a Gen X perspective on business today and old lessons that we learned from back in the day that you can still apply today as a new business person. So those are probably the two best places that you can find me.
That is perfect. And we'll have the links available down in the show notes and the description for everyone to get connected. Sean, our final question here is what are you looking forward to most in 2026? I'm sure you're ramping up. Are you kind of expanding your product line? Are you growing? Or are you kind of sticking with all the things that have been working so far?
Well, we're going to stick with the things that have been working so far. We are expanding. We opened a media company called Dreamtides Media now, where we're starting to get a lot of calls for media production. And it's not just video, but just media production in general. And that's been really taken off. So 2026, I think, is going to be the year of a lot of media production as I start to move in that direction into this phase in my life.
That is so exciting. Congratulations on that new endeavor. I feel like it's a natural evolution as you find new opportunities. You kind of see where there's gaps in the market. And if you're doing the media well for yourself, why couldn't it work for someone else too?
Right, right. And that's the exact reason why. I've had people say, wow, the work that you do is amazing. Can you do that for me? So what did they say in the Wolf of Wall Street? Sell me this pen.
Yeah. And you found it. They're already selling it for you. They're like, can I have that pen? You're like, well,
Yep.
it wasn't for sale yet, but now I think it will be.
Yep. Yep. Exactly. Exactly.
I love it. Well, Sean, thank you so much for taking the time and sharing your journey with us, sharing all these tips and tricks that have worked for you. I know our audience is definitely going to appreciate it. So we appreciate it, Sean. If there's any wrap up commentary that we haven't mentioned yet that you want to sneak in real quick, the floor is yours.
I would just say, look, anybody who's out there that's listening to this podcast, first of all, make sure to subscribe. All
Hey,
right.
thank you.
Like and download this guy's podcast because I'm going to tell you he's going places. We were talking before the show. So you can say you knew him when. So make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. And I would say the last thing is be your original you. Just be your original you and work hard at it, and nobody can ever take that away from you.
I love it. Sean, very inspiring. Thank you so much. Congratulations and looking forward to 20 for all of your successes. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.